Hello and welcome to The Dive. This is Season 6, Episode 28. It was going to be a Divephoria episode, but we don't have any of the EU4ia people here, so it's just a Dive episode with a special guest. Hey!
I moonlight LEC. I don't get the official one.
Yeah. It's Azale with hair. Oh my God. It's an accent all of a sudden.
God.
Yeah, I'm trying my best to bring myself into it. But yeah, it's good to be here. Good to get a chance to chat to you lads, especially ahead of groups as well, because I was a little nervous today. RNG weren't going to make it. So I'm glad at least we got past that bit. But
we are coming to you right after our last day of play-ins in full world celebration here. With
they gave me a nice poncho because they were like, it's a little cold in here.
It's a survivor blanket.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. This is incredibly comfy. I am very happy right now.
They never give us anything when we're cold.
They turn the AC even down further. They like to see us punished. You're lucky. They suck us in ice baths, eat hot peppers. So obviously, you're coming off casting the RNG series that just happened versus DFM. I just did the EG versus Mad Lions one. We're both delirious, so we're going to get right into it.
I cast viewed Champions Queue late into the night, and then my parents decided to visit today, the day right before we fly out to New York for group stage.
Nice. So you're also delirious?
Tired AF.
All right. How are you enjoying Worlds so far, Kobe? You haven't joined the official broadcast quite yet. You're going to the group stage, flying out soon. But what have you thought for play-ins?
It's been super exciting. I was expecting this because of the quality of the teams in play-ins. I was like, this is going to be the most hype play-in stage, that we've ever had for Worlds. And I think it really delivered. It was so fun to watch, especially because there is like this backdrop of Champions Queue. And so you see a lot of the other teams already practicing and stuff with those players that are playing in play-ins. And so you get a little like behind the scenes, data and stuff like that. But I mean, the mere fact that we have RNG defending MSI champions in play-ins, I think speaks to the
But it looked like a big step up. Like when I was watching the playing teams, like even though say like Oysters didn't pick up any wins, they actually looked genuinely good. Like their mid jungle looks legit, and I think it's really cool to see how we're slowly but steadily kind of getting that creep up in the skill of the playing teams. Because before, if you put like LPL 4th seed in there or LCK 4th seed in there, it's just going to be a stomp. And look, some of it was, but you can definitely see that gap is closing. And I think that's the really cool thing to see about this tournament.
There was the Group A had a couple upsets as well, with Loud taking down Fnatic, DFM taking down Cloud9.
Oh my God, Loud was so fun this tournament. Freaking Brandt's coming out, boom, instantly gained so many fans.
Dude, they got good showmanship out there, They got the Evie thumbs up as well coming up big.
Yep.
They were able to take down Loud, then go up against RNG. I got to cast the Mad Lions and EG series. Yeah. I thought EG was going to win. I didn't make the public prediction. I was just on Twitter like memeing the whole day. I was throwing shade at the LPL as well on when they dropped the first game to DFM. But like I didn't think it would be a 3-0. I thought Mad Lions would put up a bigger fight. I still thought EG would win, but definitely looked like the Mad Lions of the LEC playoffs kind of showed up and were kind of a little bit dysfunctional and made it pretty easy for EG, all things considered.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest problem with EG is like they were always a team that when they got ahead, they were like, oh, this team looks great, right? They can actually like play through a lead. But when they got to go into, hey, we want to cross map and we want to actually look to like play slightly from behind, that's where I never really trusted them. But I thought that, shifting the meta with Kaiser going back towards things like the Nautilus and that would probably help out. Like him and Niski linking up, like working with Ilyoya, I thought would be a game-winning plan. But it just never happened. And I'm not sure what happened in the back.
I went in super nervous also, because this whole tournament has been real bumpy. And we've seen even Impact, who I'm usually like, all right, hell yeah, I can count on Impact no matter what. Like it's been 50-50 some games. He is definitely inted some lanes, some individual plays. And I was also quite worried for the bottom lane, of course, dealing with the emergency sub situation. And, the only part I was not worried about was JoJo and Inspired because those two have just been actually just, smurfing for the whole tournament. But then, versus Mad, when they just started gaining momentum, it just got bigger and bigger, and the trash talk starts to come through. I think JoJo Inspired were also like even more emboldened than they already were by the loud trash talk, and the Evie interactions, all this, the different things coming out. It felt like there was a lot of personalities surrounding this play-in.
Vulcan had a few choice words for EU as well. I saw his Twitter. So
yeah. Oh boy. Just with the history too. There's only been 2 best of 5s between EU and NA
at
international competition before. 2018.
In the history of League of Legends, 10 years.
It's mad. It's so
There's
crazy.
been Rift Rivals. There's been IEMs and things. Of course, there's more to the story, but at least at the Riot events,
Yeah.
2018 semifinals, 2019 MSI finals, that's it. And so we got
Gonna
3-0
say-
both times. I was scared and just didn't think we'd go this well for
At
an NA fan.
WCG in 2010.
All right, Grandpa.
CLGB.
Where's the
XK.
meme of like, all right, Grandpa, let's get you to bed?
That was me. I was there. We got the gold medal, baby.
Yeah, like I said,
No.
other history. But
Yeah. But that's one of the special things about and why people were so excited about this play-ins and the way that it shook out, where there was going to be one of these major region seeds is going to get eliminated. You know, we don't have enough spots, and it's going to come down to this. So it's definitely exciting that it turned out this way. It was NA versus EU instead of, if Fnatic had to play like it would not be nearly as hype.
Yeah, no, it was super cool to see, and I think it's given me a bit of hope for EG as well, specifically for Kerry as well, because I felt like he had a lot to bear coming into this, obviously like replacing Danny, and I wasn't overly sure when I saw the first couple of days, but his Aphelios genuinely looks really good, and if he can keep getting his hands on that, even he had a massive Infernum play earlier today as well that just I think it was game 3, just outright won it. I was like, if this is able to get like Kerry kind of back onto something that's comfortable and you can play towards what is EG's like late game team fight style.
Oh man, you're pumping out a little copium for me. Even that amount though is not. When I look at the group, I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, they got a tough draw for sure.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm still so nervous for the bottom lane.
Yeah, we'll get into I think groups in a second here. Final thoughts for me on the EG series was just the counter pick of the set game was crazy. If you're an NA fan, check it out. If you're
Plus,
an EU
it's
fan,
the best taunt that you can have, the sit-up taunt.
Yeah, he was going hard. Even his own team was like, JoJo, calm down a little bit. And then the bot lane, I mean, for Mad Lions, I just haven't, ever since the meta changed to be more bot focused, I have not been particularly impressed with Unforgiven and Kaiser. And it was cool to see, the fact that Cowrie and Vulcan held up just fine. But it is concerning going forward into Group B with how stacked it is. We'll have to see if they can actually do it. On to RNG DFM. Dagda, were you ever worried? Did you ever actually sweat, or were you like, stupid game 1?
We know that every year the LPL has to sacrifice someone. We had FPX last year that just went kaboom, and then we won the tournament, right? So me and Lyric have just been trying to like work together, like who is going to be the one that booms, and if it is RNG and play-ins, it's like okay, now the rest can fly. So we were a little bit kind of like, okay, game 1 that was a bit rough, and then game 2 when it started off with DFM also looking good, I was like, maybe this is actually going to be a problem, but once they kind of got into the series, it's a little bit easier. But again, I think the biggest problem for RNG is these are guys that are very good individually, but they suck at reading a meta. Like every single year they come into the tournament, they're like, they don't really know what they're supposed to do. They have to play catch up. So I actually think playing in play-ins is going to help them out. Like look at that game 1 versus DRX, right? Like Neela, Vi, like all these things, you're just like, that is not the way this tournament's going at all. So I think the fact that they had to play through play-ins and then had a bit of a scare with DFM is going to help them out quite a sizable bit.
I hope that the meta actually does go towards Neela. I think she's such a cool champion. I know Mark's probably tired of hearing me try and push it that way. But especially the LCK teams, all of their AD carries were spamming it so much in solo queue, in Korean solo queue. I was really hoping, it's going to get that way. And we're seeing already the emergence of carry jungle meta in Champions queue at the very least, with a lot of the groups teams playing too. So we might get like more supportive mid laners and then, engage AD carry jungle coming through. I still feel like there's so much magic to happen for Worlds meta. Definitely looking forward to it.
That was the biggest surprise to me. When I saw Grell come in with the Gore Drinker Graves day 1 and just pop the hell off, I was like, all right, I found our meta. It's Hecarim Graves. And then immediately it just went back over to, hey, we're just going to go for Sejuani's and Maokai's and just try and gank.
We even got Sivir Yumi's popping up again. And you're like,
But it was just like, it wasn't what I expected at all. I was just like, oh, this is going to be really cool. We're going to a completely different style. I'm curious now what happens with things like Maokai and Yumi. Like, where do we land on these? Like, do they just become red side bans that you got to go for so we can actually open up? Or are they just, we can get away with it. Once we start into Graves and Hecrims and that, Maokai just won't be able to stand up.
Mm-hmm. I think that a lot will change over the course of group stage as well. Like, we saw Caitlyn a little bit, but no one could play it that great, it felt like. But I don't think that we've seen the best bot lanes in the world playing yet. And so once they get their hands on the Caitlyn, maybe its priority goes back onto the ban table where it was kind of for the first couple of days. The one thing that's not changing in the meta, Aatrox. goddamn Aatrox is going to be here for the entirety of Worlds, and I'm so over it already. I'm sick of it.
I will say, for permaban champs, I think the rework for Aatrox is one of the best reworks we've ever done, and it's kind of sick. I do like watching that. Mark is waiting for me to finish. That look in his eye, I've seen that before. He's like, I'm gonna wait for you to finish so I can tell you.
I have nothing else to say. I'm just silent judgment that you like. Not that like you're fair enough about the points. He's well designed. He's
I'm
cool.
just trying to
sick of it.
I'm just trying to get that silver lining. Polish up the turd a little, Mark. At least Aatrox is a cool champ. He's got some cool.
I will say there's nothing more sad than seeing him like Q3 3 people and go from like this much health to like, oh, he's full health again. We just got to kill the raid boss once more.
Yeah, definitely. He's definitely here to stay. Whether it's ban, whether it's been kind of interesting watching teams like try and come up with counter picks. We have the infamous, Oysters trying to Teemo and Zillion.
The Tryndamere was cool
all
today.
this stuff.
The Tryndamere was really
and the
cool
Tryndamere,
today.
yeah. Like people are like, you know what? I like the way they're approaching the Aatrox because right now they're like, don't worry, we're gonna get in the lab and we're gonna find something, something that's gonna work.
We're gonna solve this problem.
I would really appreciate though if he did just go to the ban table because he's my most banned that I have in my pick'em. So if he could just throw over
I
into
had
it,
it
I'd
on
appreciate it.
Yeah, I had it sitting on Aatrox and then I was like, are people really gonna just start like banning top laners in first three that prevalently? And I moved him off. I'm kind of regretting it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, it feels like currently it's just like give it up, give first pick Aatrox, and people just accept that he's like insanely powerful, but not quite powerful enough to want to ban. So
it's because people still have hope of their lab testing. These counters that they're coming up with. As soon as all those fail.
We talked about the Caitlyn's in the bot lane. We got to see the LPL Fioras if they can finally do something. We've watched a couple Fiora counter picks, but not convinced right now. It just feels too sturdy.
Yeah, Fiora is definitely a good one. Like that definitely should work out, especially if teams start to like play to it, and commit to it.
Yeah, I think the problem with Fiora though is like you kind of have to then play side lane, so you have to like have your whole team then played around just the fact that Aatrox is in the top lane. So I don't know. I think it may end up just being a case of we're just going to swap away from it completely.
I do think, and we could take a moment here to even like talk about overall way to play the game for Worlds. With the increase to the value of dragon buffs and the extra gold added to both Rift Heralds, there's just so much power on the map to the point of like split pushing is decreasing in value. Like you have to go for these objectives. Like there's so much more power in these objectives now that it's, just by occurrence, side laning is not as effective unless you're using it to push in and then get a flank angle or get some way to join the rest of the team. It still is nice that the secondary towers on the side lane are worth a good chunk of gold, but it's not really a game-ending pathway anymore. It's more of like a maneuvering tactic.
I think it's interesting that the first dragon timer has been pretty late at Worlds. I don't know it off the top of my head, but if you told me it was 10 minutes, I'd believe that, which is pretty late for where it had been prior. So it's a lot of the games don't feel like they're actually decided at like third or fourth dragon. It's like the second or third Drake fight that will decide it, but the dragon not being the like, oh my god, well they got soul and it's over now. Usually by the time a team gets soul, the game's actually decided.
But I think that's really interesting, like as an LPL guy coming in, because I was actually looking at a bunch of the regions going, where's the dragon prio? Because you see RNG coming into this, right? They're averaging I think coming in today like 1.6 dragons at 15 minutes. Like when you look at, I was watching LCK, there's only 4 teams that average 1 dragon at 15 minutes. Like it's a very different ballgame in LPL where we'll trade like Rift Heralds for dragons substantially more. I know that's a little bit in the LCS as well, but it just felt like dragon prio wasn't as high on the cards as it is. So I'm curious to see what happens when we do get like EDG, Top Esports, JDG that are very focused on these dragons. If then the pace of the game picks up a little bit and suddenly these mid-game compositions do become a lot more viable. Because I think if you got like some of the comps where you see like Sivir, Yumi, Azir, I don't know if they're going to have the fighting power when you look at just how quickly LPL teams come in and start decimating those objectives.
Yeah.
Alrighty, is it time to move on to group stage? What everyone's really here for? Our
Yeehaw!
predictions.
The future. Let's move into the future, Mark.
All right, moving into the future. Groups have been decided now. There's a little bit of controversy about if there were 2 EU teams, what would happen with the draw, but we got the easy resolution here.
Problem solved.
Yeah, problem solved. Everyone has to slot into one particular group because of who made it through. So we have Fnatic joining Group A. That pushes a EG into Group B. Group C has DRX, and Group D has RNG to round out the final of the group. So we'll start with Group A: T1, Cloud9, EDG, Fnatic. Disgusting.
The storylines. Oh
This
my
is
God.
sick.
the group of storylines.
Yeah.
They're all interwoven. The histories are tangled for all of these organizations. It's so good. It's insane. Like I'm just imagining the intros for these games, are just paragraphs and paragraphs long for each one. If you're like, okay, start the game.
That was a little how the Mad Lions EG series was for me, where I was like, I have so many narratives to hit. I could like skip draft in the first 10 minutes of the game just to hit them. And then here you have basically the most historic orgs in every region. You could argue EDG versus RNG, of course, but like it is those two for the most part. And then obviously T1, C9, and Fnatic. On
Well, if we go back to 2013 when Cloud9 and Fnatic they were seeded in the semifinals.
Counterpick on high with the Fizz versus Kassadin. You're like,
But it's not even just the organizations, right? You got like Scout versus Faker, where Scout trained in behind Faker. You got Berserker and Guma Yushi. Then you got the Battle of the Danes between like Wunder, Jensen, and Sven as well. Like it just feels like even between the players, there's so much history there. Like this is just.
I mean, we had most of the same group with T1, EDG, and Cloud9 as well already, and then and them getting out, and it's just like, oh my God.
yeah, 2017, EDG couldn't make it out. They dominated early games. They had like 10K gold leads off the back of Scout's Lucian mid, I remember. And then they would just like always int in mid game somehow.
Yeah.
And
their AD carry is a bit better now.
yeah, they've gotten better.
Just a smidge. Just a smidge. Yeah.
We haven't even talked about Viper, man. Upset. Like, it's so gross how good everything is in this group. Humanoid was averaging 27 CSD for mid laners in play-in stage. Like, going up against these guys. Like,
we have to like try and focus this group because there's so many angles to go at. I think AD carry is a good like focus point. Especially because Berserker, such a big story for Cloud9 and a lot of their success and bringing him over and integrating him really well with Sven, who swaps over to support, and their relationship and their communication that has blossomed, and him coming from studying under Gumayushi and not getting the promo, and then for that to follow up with Summer being like Gumayushi kind of flopping, and everyone's like, oh,
should have held on to Berserker.
And, you even have the interview originally with Guma where he was talking about being worried, and he was like glad that Berserker was going to NA because it was like, wow, that guy might have taken my spot, and to see them face each other is going to be super fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think this whole bot lane is going to be super interesting, especially when we start to look more towards if we keep up with like the kill lanes we're seeing, like Tristanas and Leonas and this kind of stuff, especially for Viper and Mako. Those are the ones I'm really excited about because Mako basically had to learn Enchanter supports at Worlds 2021. I was just like, I'm going to do this for a while, but this is not my jam.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that we're kind of moving back over into something where they're going to be a little bit more interesting as well, because I think it's just going to be a bloodbath when you get some of these like top duo lanes going against each other.
I mean, most of the AD carry rankings around the world either had Viper 1 or 2 on the majority of lists as well. I will say, though, in Champions Queue, 3 games in a row, Flakkid dominated Viper, and I was like, whoa, what's going on here? It doesn't look like the best AD carry in the world to me.
Maybe he's not overrated.
Yeah, no, honestly, though, all the AD carries in this group is going to be super fun to follow, as well as the matchups from the mid laners.
Just the mid laners as well. Faker, Jensen, Scout, again, some of the most history.
They're all the same from the last time they were in the same group is such a cool carryover.
Yeah, and obviously Humanoid joining that category is just a beast in lane. Yeah. So that'll be really hyped to see. Are we ready to start talking predictions?
Sure. Let's fire them off.
So I think for me, it's probably T1 that's getting out top of this group. And the reason I'm worried for EDG is because their top side of the map hasn't looked that strong. And we're still seeing like top lane isn't massively important, but I still think like skirmishing and that around Rift Herald has become super, super high priority. I think Flandre has been a little bit messy. JJ looked a lot better in playoffs, but I spent a lot of time watching him in the regular season and he didn't look so good. So that's where my biggest worry is for EDG. So I think this will probably be T1 taking the group, then EDG in second. And then I don't know, because I think Fnatic have looked very shaky all split. Like, for people who don't know, they had a 10% of scenarios remaining when they went into week 8 Super Week that they actually made it to Worlds, or made it to playoffs, which then got them to Worlds. So And Fnatic have been a bit shaky as well, so I could easily see Cloud9 come out
But
in second, and
Belveth,
then
you gotta have faith in the Belveth.
I don't.
Oh my god, I got so excited because I've been trying to spam this champion and like talking to me, and media spams a whole bunch too, talking to him a whole bunch about it, and seeing Kanavi with his Bork into tank style build for like the adaptation for pro play, so you can actually team fight with it and not be squishy as paper. It just made me so excited because I really think that champ right now, if you look, the experienced player win rate is the highest of all champions right now with Masters Plus players. So I really think there are high highs that can be reached with it. So it's getting me more excited. I wish, and I'm still hoping for like a full damage build one to see a full pop off, but I'm pretty sure everybody's going to do like the adapted Kanavi build.
Yeah, we'll have to see. For me, predictions, I go T1 for me is such a question mark of how good are they really, I'm a little unsure if I want to put them over EDG or not. I think it's between those two, 1-2. Either way, I'll probably go EDG 1, T1 2. I'll say for Fnatic, they had the amazing start, dumped on EG, looked great, dropped to CB lol. No offense to Loud, wasn't expecting that one. Does give me hope for Cloud9 versus them. I think the Fnatic drama has not seen the end yet. We just heard prior to this that Bean is actually the one being sent home at the end of play-ins, and they're keeping Rux as their support, who did better than Hilly, you could argue, in the 2 games that they had him. And it sounds like grumblings behind the scenes that like the team is not like all sunshine and roses. So I can see a world where C9's able to be a more cohesive team. They came together so strong at the end for NA. They were clearly the best team in the region. I think that they could get out, or not get out, get third. They could get out.
Why are you laughing, huh? You're not going to have them getting out, Mark? You don't think they can get out?
I have them third over Fnatic.
Out,
I have them over Fnatic at least. I need to see one of the other Eastern teams crumble, though, to actually have faith, but I don't think so.
Oh,
what about
man.
you, sir?
This group might be my single favorite group. It's so good. And I really do think any of these teams has a non-zero chance of getting out. Like this one, actually, most of the groups, I feel like there's at least one team where you put at pretty close to 0% chance to get out. Mm-hmm. But this one, everybody's got a good chance. Well, everybody doesn't have the same chance, but they do. I would give each team at least a double-digit chance, and I definitely wouldn't say that about any of the other groups. I have started to huff the copium a little bit harder. Again, a lot of this comes from Champions Queue, which is an environment where, yes, it is way more lax and loose, and it's a practice environment. But I gotta have something to hold on to.
What do you mean? It's where the best players shine.
I gotta build my argument somewhere, right, Dagda? It has to come from somewhere. So I'm gonna make it with the building blocks of Champions Queue. And Cloud9, one of their biggest strengths that you're alluding to them topping North America and kind of their ascent at the end of playoffs was their adaptability. Adaptability is one of the strongest traits that you can have as a League of Legends teams for Worlds specifically. It is something that is always tested very heavily. The Worlds meta constantly changing, constantly adapting to these new challenges as the tournament goes further. And I think Cloud9 are well positioned to do that. So I definitely give them a chance. I'm going to say they get out second.
Heyo, I respect the NA copium, dude.
Honestly, I'm going to say T1 and Cloud9 get out. After I saw Flackid crush Viper's mental hopes, there's no coming back from that, baby.
Oh, yeah. Faker's also been getting mental boomed in Champions Queue. He's had the worst luck. The worst. Dude, that Tristana game where he was running
right,
it.
Actually. Cloud9 first, T1 second.
Oh my God, you guys, this is good. I'm pumping up on this.
Yeah.
Honestly, though, this group is definitely going to be good. And I do think that Fnatic they have shown those both sides, right? There's definitely a reason for the doubt. They've also shown the sides of, in the early stages when people are like, this is a straight up super team. And you can try and bring that full circle. We'll see about the performances here for group stage, but that potential is still there too.
Yeah, I think the X factor for T1 is Zeus, probably the best top laner in the group. I think most people would be down to say that. And we've seen top carry be pretty important. So maybe I am regretting Flandre versus Zeus. I feel like
no, Zeus is that. That's why I have T1 as the other team getting the team getting out in first. Like they're just so scary, and I think that not only top lane carries but also jungle carries are going to become big. That's another strong point for both, Blabber and Elyoya, though.
You mean
JJ has been playing Monster Graves, so maybe we ban Graves versus.
Sir, I believe you mean Razor K.
Yeah, there we go. Razor K. Excuse me. I'm getting.
I want to tilt EU fans with the Razor K so bad.
I'm getting so confused with all the Hopium.
So the most important ranking that we have to talk about, though, is Berserker or Guma. Kurt Koehler from Twitter has asked you guys got Berserker or Guma. Who do you think's gonna? Even if okay, T1 gets out, Zeus carries them, but can Berserker at least style on his mentor, or is Guma gonna put him back in the dirt?
I mean, I'm going full Hopium mode today, so
all right,
I'm gonna say yes. Good luck.
I think they can win the 2v2.
Sorry about cursing you.
Sven's super aggro actually in lane. I can see them. Yeah. Carrier, obviously, he's okay. He's no slouch.
I'll go with Guma. I think Guma and Carrier will be able to. I know they haven't had the best of splits, but I still think coming into Worlds, if they're able to get Faker kind of leaning the more facilitated playstyle that he's been playing and kind of helping out on that bot side, I think they should be fine to come back into this. Or honestly, even if you're just looking at the ability for them to have Zeus take control as well, I just don't see a world where you full stomp bot lane as Berserker against Guma and then you can just carry the game in the way that he has for C9.
Yep. Okay, shall we continue with our delirium?
Yeah, that Group A, so stacked. Group B, Dom Monkey and G2 Esports, JDG, EG, whoa!
So I actually have a bit of a spicy take for this one. JDG are my favorite to win Worlds, but they're also my favorite to bomb out of groups. Because I actually think that with the way JDG play, they will just 3-man hands check you in your own jungle and just be like, well, hopefully there's no fourth person here, and just go for it. And in a best of one scenario, that doesn't really work out. So like if you look at the actual scoreline for JDG, there was so many of their games in the regular split that would just be like 2-1 out of the best of 3 because there would just be a random funny game in there. So I'm genuinely worried for JDG, especially because if we start to move towards more topside focus, I mean, you got Nuguri for Damwon. That feels like a great story for them. Farming junglers, cool. Canyon's like, cheers, lads. Yeah. I mean, I won the world on this style of patch. And then as well for G2, like, I think Broken Blade is going to work great in this sort of patch as well. So I could genuinely see a world where JDG just end up having a few funny games and Damonkey and G2 get out ahead of them.
Funny games. I like that.
Yeah.
We can just call them funny games.
We're having some funny games. Some happy games, funny games. LPL has a long history of different kinds of games.
Yeah. It keeps you interested,
Yeah, I think it's crazy that we're getting G2 EG as well. Again, the revenge here for EG after getting clapped up 0-6 at MSI for G2. Both MSI reps going to the same group is going to be spicy after EG get a little bit of revenge against Europe.
It's actually so funny. Oh my God. I'm very scared for the continuation of the count of this interview.
You don't want to go 0-8 against G2?
Oh my God, it's I mean they've got to have learned a lot, right, from all the games they lost already to G2. I think they've got this one. I don't have them getting out. I'm not going full Hopium, okay? Honestly, I do have a lot of faith though in like the resurgence of Damwon. I know a lot of people, especially because the beginning of summer where Canyon was not looking like himself. And this has really followed him. But going back and watching the playoffs, even losing to T1 in that series, he for sure jungle gapped owner. Like the beginning of these games, every single game. I feel like Canyon is returning to form. And so Damwon is going to be extremely scary in this group as well. Go ahead.
No, I was pointing out because just the Danny is just like the ego coach. That's how it always seems. Where he's like, I'm putting Bertle in, and everyone's like, why?
Oh my God, that's the other thing. Exactly,
dude. The Renekton game,
please Nuguri every single time.
Yeah. Bertle plays Renekton, doesn't look very good. Nuguri comes in. I think it was game 3. Plays Renekton, is so aggressive, like flashing in, getting these W's, setting his team up. Clearly, like a very aggressive player, wins them that game, subbed out, Bertle comes back in. They win the series. I forget who it was up against, if I'm not mistaken, but like just not knowing who they're going to use. Even like this isn't the same team, but like Pioshik for DRX, like I don't know what the decisions, how these decisions are being reached from the outside.
I heard a couple different things. There were people talking about disagreements with how to play the game, and also Bertle being nervous.
I heard the Bertle having like
nerves,
bleeding fingernails,
and stressing. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of things affecting this decision. But I agree with you. I would definitely put Nuggery in just all games.
Yeah, I agree. I actually think Damwon is like my probably biggest dark horse to actually win the tournament. I think this just hits them so well. And if you do have Nuggery like popping off on carries, you get Canyon back on Graves and Heckram and these kind of things, I could definitely see a world where
Throw a little Nidalee in there.
Yeah, true. Yeah. I'm actually scared both for JDG in this group, but also just what Damwon, like this could just hit them just right, like 2020.
Yeah, if they peak, Duck Down playing the ghost role of being like mostly weak side with like two solo laners popping off and Canyon like running the map on jungle champions, carry jungle champions. Like I can see that world to that point. But yeah, prediction wise for me, JDG number 1, Damwon number 2. I think G2 and EG are fighting for scraps here.
The tier list.
Well, okay, so
I'm also gonna follow the tier list. No flame here.
Yeah, I mean,
but.
This one does feel a little bit more like G2. I don't know how you guys feel, but there's this. Okay, yeah, Rogue, you won the finals. We don't care. G2's the better team, I think, to a lot of people's opinion. Like, yeah, you had a great read in finals.
I care.
You think who do you think's better, Rogue or G2? Because I feel like, at least for me, I'm like, that was cool that you won, but the same way I think that like EG is better than 100 Thieves, even though 100 Thieves won that day. Like, I think G2 laid an egg in finals.
I've definitely seen that. I completely understand where people are coming from with that.
Yeah. I think the interesting thing for G2 for me was like when I was watching them during the regular split, you could kind of see they were the team that was practicing multiple different styles to get better as a team, not to, win this split. So I think that's really going to stand to them where like you'd see Broken Blade trying out several games of Sejuani, then he'd bring in stuff like the Yone, like they had a bunch of different styles that they were trying out. So I think that really will stand to them, especially when you get to Worlds, you're like, okay, cool, we're not just one style or one dimensional team. I could definitely see G2 like being able to bring out a lot of cool stuff. And especially as we start to move away from like unfortunately, I don't like not to put them down, but the weakest part of G2 has been the bot lane, right? So I think if we're having a meta that's shifting away from that could help out as well.
Viper and 2v2s.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He's back, baby.
Yeah, Flack is back.
Week 1 MSI, Flackett and Targamas when they were the best bot lane in the world for that one week.
So C9 win Group A, G2 win Group B, and then so this is where we're going.
Yeah. Nice. Sounds right to me. All Western.
Yeah.
Well, you have to take at least one other team with us. Can't dominate.
Yeah,
we have to take 2 other teams, I guess.
I think this group for sure. I put JDG number 1. I do think there is a little wiggle room for G2 and Damwon. I think EG they overcame a lot to get here, and it is overwhelming odds against them. Good luck. I'm 100% cheering for you. I believe in you, but not enough to predict you to get out.
Not enough to put my name on the line,
Yeah, exactly.
my good name. Yeah, it just feels like we've seen them play G2 so many times. I do think, JoJo's gotten better.
How do we argue against 0-6?
Yeah, that's the thing is like there's so much data.
Champions Q, that's where we build our argument.
So JoJo is the most unhinged player. He tilts his teammates, he tilts his opponents, he's tilting everyone. Like I guess the just tilt them strat is like Any's way out here maybe. I don't know.
It's so fun to watch. But definitely looking forward to the repeat of that matchup again, and see if we can have a different outcome. Because at least like it's not that much worse if you're like, oh no, we're 0-7 versus them now versus 0-6, whatever. If we're 0, it's similar.
The last topper I'll put on this group for me for JDGs, I just want people to watch out for Hope.
I was about to ask you about him.
Yeah. So for people who don't know, Hope played with EDG in 2020 and then got replaced by Viper when Viper joined in. But even at the time, he was still incredibly good. Dropped down to the LDL, played with EDG Youth for ages, and then has only just signed with JDG this year. But he's been absolutely fantastic, especially on more of the aggressive picks. Like he was the Lucian Nami guy. Like that was the big combo for these guys. styles, but he's been super solid in team fights. He's been a mainstay carry for JDG, and it feels like this is going to be the pop-off tournament where we actually get to see him, because he's just been so consistent.
More consistent than Jackula?
How is that possible?
You say it like that.
No, I agree. He definitely deserves so much credit. He's actually been a monster too. And the consistency for 80 carries, guess what? That matters a lot.
Yeah.
Well, especially in this group where the rest of the teams are not really about their bot lanes. Yeah. Cowrie has been good, but not like the main focal point for EG. Kind of the same story for Flackout and Targamas and even Duckdown. It's
I think Hope runs this group for sure for 80 carries.
Yeah, I hope Nuggery comes in so we get 369 versus Nuggery, because that's sick. So there's a lot of cool matchups, but it does feel like JDG have it.
I mean, even Kanavi Canyon is just going to be a banger. I'm so excited to see those two match up.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Cruising along to Group C. The Hopium group, maybe? For
I expended some Hopium in Group A, but I've got plenty left, Mark.
Okay, so
I stocked this shit up all year.
It's not for us. This is EU Hopium that we're dealing.
That's fine.
Here.
I will deal to EU. I'm fine.
You're that kind of dealer. You're always taking on new clients.
I just love seeing people, get that sparkle in their eyes. I want EU Hopium, at an all-time high too.
Rogue, GAM, TES, DRX, sell the Hopium right now for Rogue.
Odoamne got a taste of winning, and he is not going to let go of it. Rogue now are just going to grab hold of it, and they're going to run this. Okay, well, TS is still going to get out. TS is still going to get ahead, but they're going to run it straight, into second place to be able to get out of this one. Honestly, the sparkle of GAM, we haven't seen them in so long that I'm a little bit scared there's going to be some crazy stuff coming out, but so much, everyone just always points to the story of the Super Leash Nocturne, right? Something that crazy is not going to come out again, and I think Rogue's got it. They've been training for this for so long, and they finally won.
I'm with you. I think for GAM, they lost in their playoffs to Saigon Buffalo, who then got beaten by Mad Lions, and so not to do the whole transitive property thing, but I think
to do it,
I think the years away from international play for Vietnam has set them back a little bit when they were on the rise. GAM is better. I think that series was a little crazy that they ended up losing, and then they 3-0'd them in the finals again later. So I do think GAM is a significant step up, but I also think Rogue is a significant step up over Mad Lions, just to try and do a little bit of that comparison. And then for DRX, they're a hard team to place a little bit. They did look very good in playing. Zeka is a beast, legitimately maybe best mid laner in the group. You could try and argue Knight's obviously incredible, but that Karma in Champs Queue not doing it for me.
Yeah, that's the other thing. The meta is going to shift a little bit, I feel like. Specifically, you mentioned Knight been spamming Karma supportive mid laners. We could be moving towards the carry jungle angle, supportive mid laners, type of setup.
That's where I get worried for top esports, because I think if we see Zoe, she's an insanely high win rate in solo queue at the moment. I think it's 60% plus or close to 60%. Knight, phenomenal Zoe. And same if you see Silas stay in the meta. Knight, insane at that. But kind of to your point about who's the best mid laner, the biggest problem that I have for Knight is that he doesn't always show up in the high pressure situations, right? We saw
slap him on Karma then.
True. But in playoffs, he had some good series, but a lot of the time he was just kind of was a bit quiet. Same when we got to Worlds in 2020 was the last time we saw top esports there. Also very quiet, and kind of a lot of people going, well, this is supposed to be when Knight's supposed to show up, but he was the best mid laner, never made it to Worlds, and then kind of got there and didn't really do very much. So I think the biggest question mark for me is what version of Knight shows up, and then if we do start swapping over into all those carry junglers, that's not exactly Tien style either. So that's my biggest worry. I was gonna
start hyping it up because he's already preparing counters in Champions Queue versus the Graves picks that is taking over. He insta-locked, answered with a Kindred, and ran the whole game. So he's already preparing, these I'm getting so into obviously the jungle picks. I got so excited with the Elyoya Belveth and the possibilities and all these carry games, and then all these Graves carry games that are coming. And the next evolution is a skill matchup like that. And if Tien is confident, to slam down, answers like that, and he did have plays where he was like flash Q ulting Kindred to save people.
Oh, that was sick. Yeah.
Jensen, he was with Jensen. Jensen had an outplay mid, and then he just comes out of nowhere over the wall, saves him as well. I have so much confidence in him.
Thank you for giving me the Hopium back now. I appreciate it.
Like I'm saying, I'm the dealer. I got some LPL Hopium. I got some EU Hopium. I'm agnostic.
You're just dealing it out to anyone who will buy it off you. I think the Jackie Love angle is funny. Yeah. That Zeri game in it was finals.
I feel bad for him because he was unbelievable all playoffs long. Like,
yeah,
he was basically the reason top esports got to that finals. And then look, he had some very shaky moments at times, but overall it was a pretty good look for him. And then just in that last best of 5, because like he did, what was it, 92,000 damage he dealt in like a single.
No.
It was just like, it was insane. So he's had like unbelievable moments. It's just unfortunately misjudged that dive at the end, but
it's so exciting to watch. And it speaks a lot that you still ask everyone, okay, where do you rate Jackie Love? And they're still like, oh my God, amazing. Yeah. The fact that you can int like that, in the finals, and everyone's still like, yeah, he's still a god.
Still good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's definitely worth still taking with that. I will say that is another one of the angles for Rogue is like in group stage, especially in these best of ones. Guess what? If you're the ones and you get a Jackie Love int game, all of a sudden that does great things for you. Even if you don't actually beat them to the number 1 spot, it puts you so far ahead of the rest of the group in trying to leverage the spot to number 2 to get out. That I think that's another Hopium angle for people to look at when they're playing versus TES.
Yeah. Also, I think Wayward topside is going to be interesting. Yeah, rookie coming in, he looked good in regular season and then had a bit of a rough playoffs as well. So I'd be curious to see if we are going to go to carry tops, how he fares. The biggest thing though to watch out from is just shout out to Ox who loves this as well, is his emote spam. Every single time he does anything at all, he will be spamming every single emote that he has under the sun. So he went in, like in playoffs, he flashed in on Renekton, completely messed up everything, and then had to just about get in, and he's just like spamming, that frog with the tongue rack.
Yeah.
He did the same, like he chased someone down on Malphite and solo killed them, and he's just spamming an emote the entire way down the lane after them. So he's definitely a man with a lot of personality, so I hope he does well, because I want to see him keep that personality. But at least in this group, I don't think there's too many top laners that are going to like completely smash him, which will help. But
that's where the confidence angle and dealing with pressure angle comes in, because this is the first world in 3 years where we're going to have the live audiences again, and the actual big pressure of the stages becomes another conversation. I do like, Wayward's champion pool as well. So many carry champions, but then still like Malphite and stuff like that as well. So
yeah, I think the top lane point's interesting. Odo's obviously a beast, but he is more, at least in the finals, Renekton, Ornn, Gnar, GP, weak side, and we'll see if he wants to bust out the Maokai maybe. Yeah, Sejuani top now, looking pretty good. There's a lot of options for him in the meta. I don't mean to say not that, but like Wayward does feel like he'll be able to, if he's playing well, And even then, Qingtian as a backup can always come in, and he looked fine in playoffs to me. So they do have that stability there. So I'm pretty confident TES, but beyond them, I do feel like it's a little open. DRX looked really good in play-ins, much better than I was expecting. I think anyone was expecting. So if they can keep that up.
I am so worried for Pioshik.
That's why Junon's coming in.
Yeah.
Pioshik and him swapping pretty evenly throughout group stage, and they went undefeated, but I don't know.
Yeah. A lot of the swaps need to be figured out and solidified with some of the extra data. So,
yeah. So predictions for this group: is anyone willing to take a hit of Kobe's Copium, the Copium Kobe man? I think we're all across the board. TES number 1, right?
Yeah.
Is anyone willing to take Rogue 2? Anyone?
I'm willing to do it.
I'm willing to take Rogue 2.
I'm willing to do it.
I think DRX.
I think DRX will get second. I was really impressed with how they like. Let's be honest, RNG haven't looked so hot in play-ins, but I was really impressed with the way DRX played against them in game 1. So if they can keep bringing that to the table, I could easily see them taking second here.
Yeah, Def has looked very good. Obviously, he can keep that up. Kingan's been fine. I never have a strong opinion on him. I don't know why. I'm like, oh, Zeka and Barrel and Deft. Like, oh my God, they're so good. What's going on in the jungle? And then I like totally just forget about King on the top side.
I have just some misplays that stick out in my head from him where I'm a way less confident in their top side, but I don't know if it's going to manifest in this group.
Yep. Comp snuck in there on which LPL pro player put Comp as one of the top 20 players in the world at the AD carry position. Remember that there was like
I think it was
it was one of the LPL players when they did like all the LPLs like top 5 in each position or whatever it was.
Like Doinby or something?
Yeah, maybe Doinby did it. I don't know. Someone put him in there and everyone was like, "What are you doing putting Comp in there?" But Comp was looking much better. Malrang's like the jungle camp king, and like I feel like that's very effective in best of ones. Just like tilt them, you know. just like this guy's in my lane 24/7.
If it turns into carry junglers though, it might bite him in the butt. Like if you're skipping camps a whole bunch to go for ganks.
Yeah, I don't know. Maokai flash W, Maokai alt, Maokai. I can see him
play for lanes.
Yeah. And Larson, I think, Larson and Odo finally stepping up. It felt like in finals and actually showing up when it mattered the most.
I like how Larson just always has so much confidence too.
Yeah.
So he's gonna be confident versus all these mid laners.
Yeah, my biggest worry for Larson was like we'd see things like his ear start to fall out of the meta, but like if he's still able to play his control mages mid, I mean he's gonna be totally fine, right? Because I wasn't sure how heavy he was gonna go into roaming mids or supportive mids for carry junglers, but he should be all right. Yeah.
Victor, Azir, Orianna are all still super fine, and Victor especially I think is a pretty good spot of those three.
Yep, can always slam those.
Yeah.
Silas.
Not the control mage I'm looking for, but definitely a good pick. The Silas Akali is way more of an exciting matchup. Silas Akali Yone mids, that's more what I'm looking
Set
for.
Mid?
Yeah.
Pog?
The Zac? The Caps Zac coming in. Come on, you watch the Froggy version. You need to watch the Caps version. Then maybe you'll have a different take.
Yeah, I know. All right. I think across the board though, Gam 4th for us.
Yeah.
I think they definitely have some upsets. I think people are underrating them. I actually thought they were pretty good in finals. Like they read the map well against Saigon Buffalo. I think their team fighting was pretty good. I'm not saying that like they're going to massively overtake everyone in the group, but I just think that they are going to surprise a lot of people with how strong, it's like even comparatively to Saigon Buffaloes that they are.
Yeah.
All right, last but not least, moving on to Group D, GenG, the Flying Oysters, 100 Thieves, and RNG.
Dude, Flying Oysters, Jungle Gemini has become
I knew you're going to talk about it. You love him and Rest. You're just going to talk about it now for the next.
No, it's like Gemini has become my new favorite player. This man is actually insane. It was his Poppy game first. My goodness, he was smurfing all over T1 members, Dom1 members, everybody in Champions Queue, just like spoon feeding ruler kills to allow him to carry games. I really think the Flying Oysters are going to get underestimated in this group. I mean, of course, so many of these groups are super packed, but and I too, before watching a lot of these individual performances from them, I for sure had them last. Great name, funny and all, but
so just on that, so Candace actually shared this, and I think it's just fantastic. So CTBC Bank is their owner, right?
Yeah.
We Are Family is the slogan for CTBC Bank.
Yeah, I heard.
In Chinese or Mandarin, Fei Mu Li is Flying Oyster, but it's family. It's as good as they can get to it. So that's why they're called Flying Oyster, which I think is just fantastic. It's such a good way of putting their name on it.
Oh my God, I did not know that. Mission as well has had some history on the international stage. You've probably seen him a couple times. He's always, I thought, looked decent. It's just about like how he actually stands up with the rest of his team. But Gemini,
they're for sure underdogs, but yeah, Gemini and Rest definitely impressed me in some games. So I'm gonna be rooting for them. I usually root for underdogs though.
Yeah, I think we'll get to predictions in a second. GenG, favorites from LCK, champions, super team, stacked top to bottom basically.
Yeah.
Scary to try and predict anyone but them first in this group.
Yeah. And that's why I think no one will do that. Nobody.
Just watch this. 100 Thieves first.
Even me, literally dealing copium to 4 different regions, I'm keeping them first for sure.
Yeah. But here's the thing, right? Like, this is by far the slowest group out of everyone. Like, every single team in this group plays incredibly slowly. I mean, GenG literally just won LCK by going, we'll play Ornn, Azir, Zeri, Sivir. Those are the 3 or 4 amalgamations that we're going to pick. And then you put them in a group with everyone who doesn't actually play early game. You're like, oh, well, how the hell are they supposed to beat GenG? They have like 2 of the best carries in the tournament who made him AD carry. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah. Ruler's absolutely disgusting. Chovy's absolutely disgusting. Lehens has his weird, crazy picks as well as just being good. Yeah, the singed into Yumi. Peanut having a nice resurgence this year. It's been really cool to see him come back after kind of, what was it, LNG or LGD? That he was
LGD.
on. LGD, yeah. That was
The dark times.
We don't talk about that.
We don't talk about those. The dark times.
We've stolen Shadow now from Mad Lions and put him there. He's got to do the same.
You put him in the Shadow realm for a little, banish him down there. Shadow, you can come back out.
But he came out such a much more well-rounded jungler, you know? Like his pathing now on things like Sejuani is so much better. Before it was always like, okay, you know, get him on Nidalee and he's just gonna go turbo on people, right? And you're like, oh shit, I want to watch.
It turns out when you have to cover everything for your team, you gotta get to become a bit well-rounded.
He's just like he really thinks about his lane matchups and path well in advance, and it feels like he's in the right place so often. It comes out with a lot of these plays that don't look spectacular, and you're just like, oh wow, GenG's is beating this team again. Oh wow, it looks so easy for them.
But there was even that really cool one that he had in the regular split as the Poppy, where he like level 2 flashes over the wall, then goes into the jungle, gets a bunch of. It was just, his pathing is just so fun to watch, and as you say, he actually feels like he's really thought it out.
And he definitely, like, even though he had to like diversify, you know, and play all this Poppy and Sejuani and Vi and stuff. What you really want is to see him whip out the Nidalee and the Graves and Lee Sin and stuff again. I'm definitely here for it.
Yeah, I think you can play both styles. I mean, there is this duality right now in the jungle where it's like, are you a Sejuani, Hecarim, or Sejuani, Trundle, Maokai player? You Hecarim, Graves, Belveth, like exactly what's going to end up as the most dominant. I think a lot of teams defaulted to the tank side because it's just like safer and easier to play.
It doesn't make the rest of your team change their champions. I think that's one of the big things is like, okay, the junglers are fine with both styles. But has your mid laner, been practicing Karma? Or better get on that night.
Yeah.
Start spamming those games.
Yeah, definitely the case. You saw like the last Mad Lion games where they had like all damage in their lanes and then a Graves, and you're like, so how do you do anything with this comp? Like, you do have to change your style a little bit. Speaking of changes, RNG, how are you feeling now, casting that series, heading into this group? I think in theory, they would be, as MSI champions, the LPL, like you would expect them to be the second seed coming out.
Think game 4, not game 1.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But this is the thing, RNG have actually had a pretty rough split, where they've basically, and you're seeing the crux of it at Worlds now, is they just had an identity crisis. It's like, what the hell do we do when Ming can't play Engage? Okay, now we give it to Xiaohu, and then it was like, well, now we've got Enchantress supports and Azir's meta. Like, what are we actually supposed to do here? So RNG just never really figured out how to play it, which is why I think it was a bit of a miracle that they did end up here, because they had the reverse sweep to actually get into Worlds. I think they're slowly figuring it out, and I think the fact that they actually had to go through Play-Ins is probably going to help this team a good bit, just actually figure out what style they want to play. But they really need to get to it quick, because you could see even game 1 today was like, if you're struggling against Detonation Focus Me, what the hell are you going to do against GenG? Now I think
the assignment is due next week, so
exactly,
hurry up and figure.
But
figure
I think the saving grace for them again is that this is a very slow squad, right? This group is incredibly slow, and RNG's biggest weakness is their early game. So at least they should be able to slowly but surely get themselves into the game. Then they can play the map state in the way that they actually do and should look reasonably well. But I think if any of these teams start to come out and play early game, like, they're just gone. They just don't know what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, the first 2 games left a lot to be desired in the early game. Even game 3, I'm like looking at that draft and I'm like, what meta is it where you're bushing that Lucian Nami, which no one else is playing? Viego became the crux for them, which like Viego's fine, but not at all in this either of these pools that we're talking about. He's like in the bruiser pool that's largely been left behind.
He got nerfed. He's in the nerfed pool for me. I'm like,
he's like,
that's what you pick when you're not comfortable with the new stuff, and you're like, I've played a lot of Viego the last few months.
I know you're good way, but like, come on, give me something else out of this. Like, they won this series, but even the way they did it with like the late game scaling, it was so slow. Even their like dominant games were like, come on, you don't need 2 Barons to win this game here. So I think, yes, this group is slow, but I hope that teams like RNG and Flying Oyster, go, okay, let's speed it up on them and actually take some really aggressive stuff.
But that's the thing, like, the entire pinch of the jungle pool was we banned Vi. It was like that
Like,
was,
it's not
that
even
was
meta
all you had to
either.
do for RNG, right? And that's why I'm really worried about them. I hope they will kind of catch up to the meta, but they've always been a slow moving giant where once they find their style, they become absolutely unstoppable. But it's actually them getting used to this new style that I think is going to be a big issue for them. Maybe against 100 Thieves and Flying Oyster, they can actually like hold out where their mid game is good enough, but I don't know. I could easily see them dropping here.
I like that. I like the sound of that.
I like them
I
dropping.
like the sound of that.
I'll take either team catching that spot. I mean, obviously, I prefer 100 Thieves, but you know what? Flying Oyster are going to make top 8. I'm down for it. Yeah. So, Universal GenG, number 1.
Yeah.
Is everyone defaulting to RNG, but with like an asterisk of being scared?
Pew, pew, pew. Forget that. I'm gonna put 100 Thieves up there.
Ooh, I'm glad you did it. Now I don't need to. I was gonna do it.
He just said RNG could stumble. They're not unstoppable yet. I'm gonna take that ticket straight to the moon.
It feels weird to be like the MSI champions, Wei, Xiaohu, Galaming, and Breathe coming in. They're not going to do it. You know, like this is, they're going to fall.
Good thing I don't have to bet money on this. Because I would probably
This is the dive.
would probably have a different answer.
No one's going to remember this in a month. My wallet doesn't have to pay the price. 100 Thieves as well. No.
Yeah, no, unless 100 Thieves win, and then you get to remind everybody.
Yeah, then...
True.
Of your boldness.
It's the freak school of thought is predict 100 things to happen.
Yeah.
Eventually one of them hits.
Yeah, exactly.
No, yeah. Okay, so since I've been using so much Champs Q data, I have to still use it here, and the blocks are actually not great for 100 Thieves. I've been pretty worried for them because a lot of the performances we've seen from basically everybody except for Closer.
I knew you were going to say, yeah.
Because Closer's still popping, but everybody else, at least just the games that I've watched, and mine have been obviously just randomly picked, so it's not the whole data set, actually make me more worried. So yeah, if I was placing this group with my head, I would still put RNG second.
I'm still going to put RNG second, mostly actually because of topside. Like someday in playoffs kind of got exposed by Fudge. Fudge exposed most of NA's top laners. And I think Breathe dominating on the Aatrox today is like, well, what are you going to do into that someday? We haven't been impressed so far in North America with his counter picks into it. His Aatrox is fine, but then I expect Breathe to have his own counters, for example.
Yeah,
so like,
okay, so Coach Diff, boom, banned.
Please, for the love of God, people ban Aatrox. I don't know why Vi is a higher priority ban than Aatrox.
You want to coach Diff, the guy who did the Golden Road from 2021 to 2022. Genji won, like he was on EDG.
Can I introduce you to my coaching brand of Hopium?
sorry.
Yeah. The top side for me is just a little too sus, and FBI and who he had some struggles into Berserker and Sven and stuff. It's just they were not super compelling. I think if you had even EG here, I'd feel a little bit better about taking that Hopium you're trying to deal me.
I'm super worried for Abadag in a lot of the matchups too. We'll see. I mean, he originally when he first came over, when 100 Thieves picked him up, he was playing Karma to Closer's carry. If the meta comes all the way around, slam that again.
I don't trust the 100 Thieves Hopium, but I will take the Flying Oyster Hopium.
Okay.
Let's take them.
You know what? I'll sell
Let's
any
take them
brand.
second. RNG sucks.
Gemini.
I'm a believer. I like Mission 2, like I said.
right.
I think they'll do it.
Yeah, I'll still go RNG second. I can't do that
Homer.
to the boys, but yeah.
Alrighty, there's our predictions. So far, 55 minutes in, we got to look ahead for Day 1 groups. It's insane, the matchups that we have. Is there any game in particular that you're looking to? C9 Fnatic, G2 versus Damwon Kia, Flying Oyster versus 100 Thieves, JDG versus EG, T1 versus EDG, GenG versus RNG, any of those.
T1 EDG is going to be such a banger. I cannot wait. That is like by far and away the one I'm looking forward to. Like Viper going up against Guma Yushi is going to be sick. Like Scout again against Faker is going to be absolutely unbelievable.
Never gets old.
And even just seeing, like for T1 as well, to see what Zeus is going to be like. Like obviously he had a bit of a rough split. I don't think he looked particularly good in things like the Ornn. But if we're going to go back towards carries, well, it's also a bit of a tester for Flandre, right? If Zeus just comes in and absolutely stomps Flandre, I'm like, all right, Zeus is back, like what we got in 2021. But if Flandre is actually able to hold his own, now I got a little bit more hope for EG. So either way, it feels like a bit of a win, but that is going to be an absolutely insane game.
Kennen is in such a good spot, and he's been spamming Kennen and Jace. I think Maybe he starts to draw Kennen bans, but yeah, I definitely have a lot of faith in that top lane for T1.
Pick a different game.
Gotta go EU NA then.
Damn it, you stole mine.
Gotta do Cloud9 Fnatic. Holy moly, that one is gonna have so much writing on it. Also because these two organizations have been intertwined. We were memeing at the beginning of the episode, but literally all the way back to 2013, and they even have had shared sponsorships, and they had that BMW sponsorship or whatever, where they were, connected for the entire year and constantly like supporting each other and stuff. So that one is going to be a gigantic clash.
All right, for me to go for a different one, it's a tight race between G2, Damwon, and GenG RNG. I think
take the first one.
I'll take the first. I think GenG RNG could low key be a snoozer where like GenG just suffocate them a little bit and like clap them up. G2 versus Damwon. I just don't see any games where G2 is boring. G2 is say anything for G2, they're never boring. I'm gonna go G2 Damwon, and they're gonna win.
I think as well. Like,
also that rivalry,
yeah, exactly. The old school rivalry and the fact it's kind of vote tester for both these squads as well. Because what was those 2019 quarterfinals? G2 beat Damwon, and then
2020 they're like, we gotta kill them.
Yeah, exactly.
The next chapter, baby, will unfold.
All righty, there you go. That's some taster for groups coming up on Friday this week.
I don't know what day. I literally haven't known.
3 p.m. Eastern time?
I've been staying up so late. I don't know what day it
zone,
is. I don't know what time it is.
Yeah, we are heading out in a minute. Sorry, this is a slightly shorter episode. Obviously, we could go speak forever about these groups. If they're packing up the studio around us, we had to use different cameras, so that's going to do it for us for now. We will be back with proper Divephoria, some EU guys coming in for New York City after the first week of groups. If you looked at Dagda's comfy poncho,
it's sick. I'm so
happy. Is it a poncho or just a robe?
It's a poncho. It's a high concept fashion poncho.
It looked like a towel to me.
I think you're just
supposed to be selling this.
I think that's just a throw blanket. But anyways,
I was going to sell it as a great towel.
No, it is super comfy. I've been incredibly cozy here.
Well,
I'm
if you
very
liked
happy.
it, you can pick your own up at merch.riotgames.com. I assume there'll be a link in the doobly-doo, as they say on YouTube. Worlds continues Friday in New York City, kicking off with Cloud9 versus Fnatic at some time. Don't you miss it.
Yeah. Don't miss it. Sometime in the future.
Yeah, whenever.